I was working the graveyard shift at a local pizza restaurant just outside of town. We had received a last-minute order, literally moments before we were due to close. But my boss would always insist on taking on as many orders as possible, regardless of how late it was. I was chosen to make the last delivery on this particular night because the address was actually on the way to my house, and I was the new guy. I had already made plenty of deliveries before, but I was a little anxious about delivering to this specific address, especially after hearing so many bizarre stories from the other staff members who said that it was a very deserted area and the two guys that lived there were brothers, but no one had ever seen them before. I didn't take their remarks very seriously, since I figured they were probably just trying to scare me. The strangest part was how they always ordered the same pizza, small with no toppings at all. I was following the GPS on my phone as closely as possible. I couldn't afford to get lost, and I was eager to make the delivery as quickly as possible. I arrived at the location according to the GPS, but I found myself in the middle of an extremely deserted road. I guess the staff members weren't joking about that after all. I couldn't see so well through the windows of my car, and my field of view was extremely limited, so I stepped outside to get a better look. I glanced in all directions until I spotted what looked like an old farmhouse just a short distance from the road. There were no signs of a driveway or any other means of getting to the house by car, but I could definitely see that the lights were on. The restaurant had already closed at this point, so there wasn't any way of calling there to confirm if I was in the right address or not. Since it was the only place visible from where I was standing, I decided to grab the pizza and start walking towards the old farmhouse. As I cautiously traversed through the field, I could sense things moving and scuffling about in the surrounding trees, but I assumed it was quite normal considering it was clearly a farmland of some sort. As I approached the house, I observed the shabby exterior and found it hard to imagine how anyone could live there. I knocked on the door, which was then followed by a series of strange loud noises. Then I heard a strange voice.
Who is it?
I told him that their pizza had arrived.
Just leave it on the doorstep.
I guess now I realize what the other guys meant when they told me that no one knew what they looked like. I carefully placed the pizza on the doorstep while money was fed from beneath the door. I grabbed the money and quickly made my way back to the car, but then stopped halfway. I couldn't shake this overwhelming sense of curiosity. Being asked to leave the pizza on the doorstep instead of actually opening the door like a normal person would do. I had to know why. I decided to hide and watch to see who would come out to get the pizza. I watched motionless as the door slowly creaked open, revealing a dark silhouette and a pair of large eyes piercing through the murky interior of the house. And then, he instantly looked in my direction and saw me. We stared at each other for a few seconds before I looked behind me and saw the lights to my car flashing like crazy. I took one last glance at the old farmhouse and was horrified to see that he now stood well beyond the doorstep. I turned and ran towards my car. After grabbing my keys, I got inside and locked all of the doors as quickly as I could. I started the engine and drove away, swearing this would be the last time I would ever deliver to this address. As the rush of what happened slowly wore off, I realized I hadn't stopped to think what might have caused the car alarm to sound off like that, but I was just too relieved to finally be heading home to think much of it, and I took great comfort in knowing that I would be home very soon. Hey folks, this is just a quick reminder to hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoyed this video. I make new scary animated stories every few weeks, so please hit that notification bell to make sure you won't miss a thing. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more content from Animated Horror Flicks.